For those of you who love the Lord, for those of you who want to do the right thing in the love and fear of your Savior, I'm reading a political home run, why voting for Donald Trump is morally acceptable. Don't go away. You're not going to want to miss this. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
The proper name of the title is on the screen in front of you. It's a morally good choice. It's not just morally acceptable, it's a morally good choice. My wife recently stumbled on this article written by Dr. Wayne Grudem and was published on Town Hall. And I thought, this is so good. I'm going to give it all of the airtime I possibly can and encourage people to go to townhall.com and read it for themselves, send a link out to their friends, or just watch this. This is good preaching. So, I mean, this would be a great sermon if somebody wanted to preach it. I'll do the best that I can, Dr. Grudem. Anyway, this is great because there's a, unfortunately, I don't know if it's growing or if it's waning, but there is a movement afoot in this country of good people, God-fearing people, who are trying to get Christians to not vote for Trump. Some of them are saying that Trump is so dangerous that they would rather have a Hillary presidency, which is insanity, all right? They're saying that it's unethical to vote for Trump, which is simply folly. It's foolishness of the highest order. And this article addresses one issue at a time. So if you missed yesterday's program, you can see the first part of his letter. You can go to townhall.com and read it. I'm going to pick up where I left off yesterday. Excuse me for clearing my throat. So beginning now with where I left off yesterday regarding religious liberty, this is written by Dr. Wayne Grudem, and it is on townhall.com. He said, are my predictions about this kind of loss of religious liberty too grim? He was talking about how the Supreme Court is paving the way for the persecution of Christians and just the strangling of religious liberty if we don't want to participate in things that are against our conscience or clearly against biblical morality. He said, the three conservative justices still on the Supreme Court expressed similar concerns just last month. The case concerned a Washington pharmacy that has been owned for 70 years by the Stormans family, who are committed Christians. They will likely now be put out of business by the Washington State Pharmacy Board for refusing to dispense an abortion-causing prescription drug. On June 28, 2016, the Supreme Court refused to hear the Stormans' appeal in spite of a strong dissent written by Justice Alito, joined by Roberts and Thomas. Quote, at issue are Washington state regulations that are likely to make a pharmacist unemployable if he or she objects on religious grounds to dispensing certain prescription medications. There is much evidence that the impetus for the adoption of the regulations was hostility to pharmacists whose religious beliefs regarding abortion and contraception are out of step with the prevailing opinion in the state. If this is a sign of how religious liberty claims will be treated in the years ahead, those who value religious freedom have cause for great concern. Close quote on the dissent. Dr. Grudem continues. What about Christian business owners? If Clinton appoints just one more liberal justice, it's likely that many Christian business owners will be targeted. Hobby Lobby won its 2014 Supreme Court case, again, just 5-4, so it was not compelled to dispense abortifacients to its employees. But that case could be reversed. The four liberal justices in the minority, Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan, are still on the court. If that case is overturned, it would force Hobby Lobby out of business because the Green family said they would shut down the company of 23,000 employees and over $3 billion in annual sales if they lost the decision. The implications for other Christian business owners with pro-abortion, with pro-life convictions, the implications for other Christian business owners are ominous. These incidents show that it's not an exaggeration to say that under a liberal Supreme Court resulting from Hillary Clinton's election, Christians would increasingly experience systematic exclusion from hundreds of occupations, with thousands of people losing their jobs. Step by step, Christians would increasingly be marginalized to the silent fringes of society. Is withholding a vote from Donald Trump important enough to pay this high a price in loss of freedom? I'm going to take a break. If you just joined me, I'm reading a political treatise written by Dr. Wayne Grudem that appeared recently on townhall.com. This is powerful stuff. I hope that you're getting the message if you're thinking that you're not going to vote for Trump. I'll be right back. If you own a business and would like to advertise on our program, please contact us. We are currently seen on over 130 television stations from coast to coast. We air at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then all times are local. We have a lot of reach, friend, and this is an opportunity at a great price for you to get your product or your service in front of hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people. Also, if there's something that's important to you and you'd like to have a month where you just say thank you to this ministry or promote a certain ministry or a certain cause, contact us. Our rates are incredibly affordable. You'd be surprised. And you, again, can reach into hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of homes. We're currently seen possibly in over 30 million homes. So give us a call, give us an email, and we'll put a commercial up for you. Hi, friend. If you just joined me, I'm reading a treatise called Why Voting for Donald Trump is a Morally Good Choice. It was written by Dr. Wayne Grudem and appeared on Town Hall's website, townhall.com. If you are enjoying this, if you want to use this rhetorical weaponry, which I encourage you to do, go to Town Hall, find the link, send it to your friends, or send them links to this show. If you want more rhetorical ammunition in this discussion, I did a two-part series called Why Christians Should Vote for Donald Trump. You can go to our website, voiceofresistance.com, and see those two episodes. I continue with Dr. Grudem's treatise. Great job, by the way, Dr. Grudem. He said, some Christians have even hinted to me that persecution would be good for us. But the Bible never encourages us to seek persecution or hope for it. We should rather work to prevent such oppression from Christians, just as Jesus taught us to pray. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Matthew chapter 6, verse 13. Paul did not encourage us to pray that God would give us bad rulers, but good ones who would allow us to live a peaceful life. Quote, I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people, for kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way. That's 1 Timothy 2, verse 1. What about Christian schools and colleges? A liberal Supreme Court, by the way, he's still focusing on, if Hillary is elected, what this will mean for the Supreme Court and what implications that will have on public policy, with unelected officials dictating laws, crushing religious liberty, crushing dissent. So now he's going to talk about Christian schools and colleges. A liberal Supreme Court would also impact education. Christian colleges would likely be found guilty of discrimination if they require adherence to the Bible's standards regarding sexual conduct, or even required affirmation of primary Christian beliefs. In other words, I believe this. Campus ministries like Cru and InterVarsity have already been forced off of many major university campuses following the 5-4 Supreme Court decision, CLS versus Martinez in 2010, which upheld the exclusion of the Christian Legal Society from the campus at Hastings College of Law in San Francisco. And now, California's Equity in Higher Education Act, great name, SB 1146, which recently passed the California State Senate and will likely become law, would prohibit Christian colleges from requiring students or employees to hold Christian beliefs or abide by biblical moral standards regarding sexual conduct, and would prohibit colleges from assigning housing based on a student's biological sex if a student claimed to be transgender. Colleges like Biola and Azusa Pacific could not long survive under those regulations. With regard to elementary and high school laws, laws promoting school choice or tuition voucher programs would likely be declared unconstitutional if they allowed such funding to go to Christian schools. A tax credit program for scholarships to private schools, including Christian institutions, was only upheld by a 5-4 decision. The Supreme Court decision in Arizona Christian School Tuition Organization versus Wynn in 2011. And all 4 liberal justices who voted against it are still on the court. Another possible target of the liberal agenda would be laws that allow for homeschooling. Are you hearing me, homeschoolers? If the secular liberal government hostility to homeschooling in European countries is any indicator. What about churches? I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I'll continue reading what Dr. Wayne Grudem said regarding whether if we vote for Hillary and the impact it would have on our churches. Don't go away. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Friend, this program is supported by friends like you who believe in what we are doing. We run a very tight ship. Thankfully, we are on over 130 stations across the country, having tremendous impact. We get emails every day. We get letters in the mail, not every day, but almost every day. We hear from people who love what we're doing. What people don't understand is that it's sort of expensive to produce a television show like this. It doesn't require earth-shattering funds, but it does require financial help. So I am asking you, if you enjoy this program, throw us a $10 or a $20 bill every once in a while, or even a $50 or a $100 check. You see the address there on the screen. Your gifts are not tax deductible, by the way, because we want to be able to say what we want to say regarding politics without the IRS telling us no. So if you like the program, I ask for your support. Hi friend, if you just joined me, I'm Randall Terry, this is Voice of Resistance, and I'm doing something I've never done before. I'm actually reading someone else's work on this program because it's so good. And because there's such a dearth of clear thinking voices regarding the upcoming election and whether it is ethically acceptable or even an ethical imperative that people, A, not vote for Hillary Clinton, and B, vote for Donald Trump. Okay? Because only one of the two of them is going to be president. And there's many people out there, it's a minority, but they've got loud voices that are saying that ethically we can't vote for Trump for any number of reasons, and they are flat out wrong. They are wrong biblically, they are wrong historically, they are wrong politically, and they're wrong ecclesiastically in regard to the church. So I continue right now with what Dr. Wayne Grudem has written regarding the impact of Hillary's election on churches. And she's only going to be elected if evangelicals and Christians and Roman Catholics either stay home or vote for someone else, or God forbid, vote for Hillary. What will be the impact on churches? I continue reading. Churches would not be exempt from the impact of a liberal Supreme Court. The court could rule that any school district is allowed to ban churches from renting school buildings on Sundays, an action that could severely hinder the work of small churches and church planting in general. This was already the ruling of the Second Circuit in the Bronx Household of Faith case regarding New York City public schools. And some churches in Iowa have now been told that they have to make their bathrooms open to people on the basis of their gender identity if the churches are going to be open to the public at all. What about freedom of speech? Freedom of speech would be increasingly restricted in the public square. In 2014, the Supreme Court ruled that prayers of visiting pastors who prayed, quote, in Jesus' name, close quote, when they opened a city council meeting were allowed under the Constitution. But again, it was a 5-4 decision. The town of Greece versus Galloway. And all four liberals who wanted to restrict such prayers, they're still on the court. So what does this do? It involves criminalizing dissent. That's the heading, criminalizing dissent. Another troubling possibility is that liberal activists, once in power, would further entrench themselves by criminalizing much political dissent. We've already seen it happen with the IRS targeting of certain conservative groups and with some state attorneys general taking steps to prosecute groups who dare to disagree with activist claims about the danger of man-made global warming. But my conscience won't let me vote for Donald Trump, some have told me. But I wonder if their consciences have considered the gravity of these destructive consequences that would come from a Clinton presidency. A vote for Trump would at least be doing something to prevent these things. In addition, I think there are several positive reasons to vote for Trump. What would the Supreme Court with Trump as president look like? Trump has released a list of 11 judges to show the kind of nominee he would appoint to the Supreme Court. A lawyer familiar with many of these names has told me that they constitute a dream list of outstanding judges who would uphold the original meaning of the Constitution and would not create new laws from the bench. Trump has said that he would rely primarily on advice from the Federalist Society, the organization that promotes the original meaning view so strongly exemplified by Justice Scalia before his death. If Trump would appoint a replacement for Scalia from his list of 11, and probably one or two other Supreme Court justices, then we could see a 5-4 or even 6-3 majority of conservative justices on the Supreme Court. The results for the nation would be overwhelmingly good. Such a Supreme Court would finally return control of the nation to the people and their elected representatives, removing it from dictatorial judges who repeatedly make law from the bench. If you just joined me, I'm Randall Terry. I am reading the political treatise written by Dr. Wayne Grudem, which appeared recently on townhall.com. It's phenomenal. That's why I'm reading it. Go to Town Hall, find the link, send it to your friends. Watch it here, send the link of this to your friends. Giving credit where credit is due. Great job. I'll be right back, continuing this discussion about how it is an ethically appropriate choice to vote for Donald Trump. For those of you who believe in the Bible, who believe in Christian ethics, and who want to cast your vote in the love and fear of God. I'll be right back. I want to invite you to go to our website, Almost every book that I have ever written is available as a PDF online for free. We have a ton of products, training materials, tools that are available for you for free. All we ask for is that you give us your email address. That's it. So that we can stay in touch with you. And yes, from time to time, ask you to support this work. So I'm inviting you, go to the website. Now, for those of you who say, well, I don't want a PDF, I want a real book. You can get one of my books. All you have to do is pay for shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift you want. And if you can't afford anything, we'll send you the book for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Why are we doing all this? Because we want to change the direction of the country, and we need to raise up a fresh generation of warriors to do that. That's why we have this tool. I invite you, go to the website, see for yourself. Welcome back, friend. If you just joined me, I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. When I was a young man, I founded and led a group and a movement called Operation Rescue. We had tens of thousands of arrests for peacefully protesting in front of abortion mills where babies were killed to save their lives, and also to drive the debate that abortion is in fact murder and that we have an obligation to stop it, a Christian duty to defend the fatherless. So the movement helped the movement to grow because I was on Christian shows like Marlon Maddox's show, God rest his soul, or D. James Kennedy's show, God rest his soul, or on the 700 Club, or with Pat Robertson and with Dr. James Dobson on Focus on the Family, and many other shows, and tons of secular programs. Donahue, Oprah, 60 Minutes, Dan Rather interviewed me. So airtime is critical for a debate, for a movement, for momentum. And I am totally happy to use this television program, seen on over 100 stations around the country, to further this discussion regarding whether it is an ethically appropriate choice to vote for Donald Trump, or even if it is an ethical requirement. To him who knows what is good, and then he doesn't do it, to him it is sin, the Bible says. Read it for yourself in James chapter 4. So the article written by Dr. Grudem discussing that if it's an ethically appropriate decision to vote for Trump goes from the negative implications of Hillary to the positive implications of voting for Trump. And I continue, and I'm going to have to go into tomorrow's program to finish it, but it's worth it. Go to townhall.com and see the article. Send links to your friends. Here's what he says about a Trump presidency regarding abortion and Trump's picks for the Supreme Court. He said, such a court would likely overturn Roe v. Wade and return abortion laws and the regulation of abortion to the states. Religious liberty. A conservative court would vigorously uphold the First Amendment, protecting freedom of religion and freedom of speech for Christian colleges, Christian ministries, and churches. Such a court would likely overturn the horribly destructive decision in Lemon versus Kurtzman, 1971, that changed the meaning of the First Amendment and ruled that a government action, quote, must not have the primary effect of either advancing or inhibiting religion. Note, not a specific denomination, but religion in general. A conservative court would likely declare that the First Amendment was only intended to prohibit the establishment of a state-sponsored church or denomination. Such a decision would once again allow the non-sectarian affirmation of personal belief in God in public schools, would once again allow coaches to pray with their football teams before a game, and would allow visiting clergy to be invited to give a prayer to high school graduation ceremony. It would also imply that nativity scenes without Santa Claus and Buddha should be allowed in government-owned parks and buildings at Christmas time. It wouldn't require these things, but would allow them if local officials chose to approve them. It would restore true freedom of religion as the First Amendment intended. It would also protect freedom of conscience for Christians who object to participating in abortions or dispensing abortifacient medicines, or who do not wish to participate in same-sex wedding ceremonies. It's also possible that a conservative Supreme Court would eventually return control of marriage to the states. I'm out of time. I will continue reading this. I'll finish it up in tomorrow's program. Again, congratulations to Dr. Wayne Grudem for a tremendous political treatise. Here's the title of it. You see it on the screen. Go to townhall.com to read it in its entirety and send the link to your friends. This is good stuff, people. It's a political grand slam.